Welcome back to the Nuggets of Gold podcast and YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. So reports over the last couple days have been severely negative to Jimmy Garoppolo against the Chargers in their training camp joint practices. And Lance is now getting reps with the ones. It was reported that Kyle's, it seems like he's coming around to a quarterback competition, a true one. I know that everyone's kind of assumed that's what's happening, but it hasn't really came out there's an official true quarterback competition. But it's looking pretty grim right now for Jimmy Garoppolo to be starting week one, in my opinion. And I'm a person that I thought I loved the Trey Lance pick right when it happened. We were just talking about this earlier, me and Aiden. I was pretty confident that we would see Jimmy Garoppolo at least for the first half of the season, if not for the whole year of this season. And that's not to knock Trey Lance or anything like that, but I just didn't think that in training camp, this early on, it would look like Trey Lance is able to run the offense better. And over the last 2 days against another team in joint practices, which are probably the biggest part of training camp, I think probably even more important than the preseason games. If you look at how coaches kind of refer to these as these live scrimmages against other teams that you're not seeing every day, they're massive for quarterback battles and position battles. So potentially this might be the turning point these last 2 days. Jimmy Garoppolo has been horrendous in the red zone. Today, he threw a pick six on 3rd and 2 from the 2-yard line to Derwin James, who took it 100 yards back to the house, pretty much just locked in on Kittle and threw it right to him. We've seen Jimmy struggle in his career in the red zone. You look back at some of those really brutal interceptions. And I'm not trying to sit here and knock Jimmy Garoppolo. I like Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he's been a pretty solid starter for the Niners, but it's looking like this is the turning point. And I'm surprised that I'm saying this. I really wouldn't have thought I would have said this after the draft even. But it's looking like we might see Trey Lance week one against the Lions. So that's kind of where I'm at. Aiden, what are your thoughts on this, man?
Yeah, so the Niners spent most of this offseason trying to prop up Jimmy and say, hey, bringing in this new young guy is going to light a fire, and they made a big deal about wanting to keep him. They couldn't find a trade that they liked, and they were going to roll out with him week one. And I think that they legitimately thought that he was going to be a better version of himself. But I think Jimmy is what he's always been. This is still the guy who threw 5 straight picks in practice. That was a really famous moment a couple years ago. But he's just that guy. He's solid. He's a dependable guy. But when you got a solid dude as your quarterback who's hurt all the time, I think the writing is definitely on the wall. I personally, I would still say Jimmy probably starts week one. But Chargers players were openly mocking him, saying that they pay him too much, and that's got to be tough for Kyle to hear, and also for Jimmy to hear. Obviously, he's obviously just a really good dude. He's loved by everybody in the organization, and he's handled this entire process with as much grace as you possibly can. It's been really, really nice to see. Him and Lance are actually pretty good friends, which is cool. But I think that you hit it right on the head, Matt. This is the beginning of the end for him as the starter with the San Francisco 49ers.
It's pretty crazy that I feel like it's coming this early, and so everyone knows we do both like Jimmy Garoppolo quite a bit. If you saw him when the Trent Sherfield touchdown from Trey Lance in the first preseason game, there was a picture where Jimmy Garoppolo is standing, he's jumping in the air, cheering, in the background. It was super cool. And he's definitely really liked, but I think one of the big issues for why I would kind of expect Trey Lance to be the quarterback is if you look at when these guys have been behind the first team offensive line in training camp. Jimmy Garoppolo has 259 reps. Trey Lance has 219. Their completion percentages are relatively the same, but Jimmy Garoppolo has thrown 8 interceptions and Trey Lance has only thrown 3 interceptions with 40 less attempts. That's not that crazy. That's a good percentage less. And I think the biggest reason for why you're going to see Trey Lance out there week one, because I am changing what I thought. I thought that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to start a long time. I don't think that's the case. I think that we're going to see Trey Lance starting week one. I've kind of been back and forth about it, unsure. I think this live scrimmage, just kind of showed Kyle like, all right, Trey Lance is the better guy probably right now even to run this offense. And we saw in that first preseason game, and we talked about it. You go 5 for 14, it might look bad on paper, but everyone knows that he had 3 plays that would have kept the drive going. 2 of those were on third down and third and long situations where he delivered a strike and the receiver dropped it. One of them was Brandon Ayuk. One of them was Richie James. Richie James misplayed another ball, and there was another drop by someone else. So you had a lot of plays where it wasn't on him. Like, he was doing a great job when the offense was looked comfortable and they were running downhill and they were running the play action boots and whatnot. Trey Lance looked so comfortable in that offense, and it looked like routine for him. Like, like I said, he's been born to play this offense. That's what it feels like sometimes. When you see him on the bootleg, you see him doing that. So we will see how it works out, but I'm really expecting that we see him week 1. If you're safer with the ball, he might not complete the ball at a high enough percentage, but you look at, we talked about this before too, the average depth of the throw. Trey Lance is throwing over 10 yards, and Jimmy Garoppolo was 1, but it's 3 pass attempts in a preseason game. But even looking at the last couple of years of seeing Jimmy Garoppolo throw this football, it's a lot closer to the line of scrimmage. They're able to do a lot more with Trey Lance. Are there going to be parts of the season where it's rocky? Yes, but the high end for this offense seems almost immediately better coming out. And I think that's what Kyle Shanahan's going to be shooting for, and it's what I'm hoping he's shooting for. I want to see Trey Lance week 1 against the Lions. I want to see this rushing offense take off. I want to see them look really, really good. So I'm all in on Trey Lance starting week 1.
Yeah, that's what I'm rooting for. I think that's what every Niner fan should be rooting for. And I think it's really interesting that we went through this entire discussion and we didn't even bring up his legs. That's going to be a huge added value to this offense. We saw him. I think there was a video released today of him doing a quarterback draw. That man is fast. We thought it was just against FCS people. No, he was running past like Derwin James and stuff like that. I'm so excited to see this dude run around people, run over people. And that's something that is a huge added value that he can bring that we haven't seen since Kaepernick, and that Kyle really hasn't had since prime RG3 during that rookie year. So super excited to see how it comes. And honestly, we have 2 very winnable games to start the season. I think it's a great idea to bring Lance in, have him start against the Lions, and then we saw how bad the Eagles looked last night. But yeah, that's that. I'm still not saying that it's 100% gonna happen. I think it should happen. I'm rooting for it to happen. But hopefully Lance is running out there with the starters week 1.
Yeah, I definitely think that's going to be the case. I think, and this is my biggest concern about Trey Lance starting. It's going to be the completion percentage. It's going to be, hey, is this guy able to consistently move the football? Now, I think he can. I think that they're going to have, an explosive play rate that's so much higher than a lot of the other teams in the NFL that maybe consistent, going on little like short streaks where you're throwing a few incompletions in a row and you're looking a little bit like out of it for a second. I think that should be expected. But like I said, the high end of this offense is so much better. He's able to, have safeties you will not be able to crowd the box against the 49ers whenever Trey Lance is there. If you do that, they're going to have a ton of big plays. Are there going to be plays where he misses a guy, where he misses George Kittle going up the seam wide open? Yes, you're going to see those. I promise you, you're going to see them. But the other thing is that I think is kind of, starting to be apparent is that it's getting better. He trained with Jordan Palmer. The motion looks so much tighter. It looks a lot faster. He gets the ball out quicker. It looks smoother. His older motion, and this goes for both him and Justin Fields. Their motions were a little bit elongated. It seems like both of them have cleaned it up a little bit. It seems that both these guys, and Trey Lance especially, is going to be a lot more accurate this year. So if he consistently starts improving that way, because we saw that Josh Allen, he wasn't amazing in the first couple years of his career, but he was really inaccurate. And Trey Lance is not going to put up, low completion percentages like in mid-50s that Josh Allen did. He's already doing better than that right now. There will be some games where it's going to look pretty bad, but then, like you said, Aiden, we're just talking about the passing game right now. The ability that he brings in the run game is going to make it terrifying for opposing defenses. And if you don't have good linebackers, your team's pretty much going to be toast. But that's all I have. Aiden, anything else you want to add on Trey Lance before we head out of here?
No, I think you hit it right on the head. We're both rooting for it to happen. And hopefully, like I said, he's running out there with the starters week 1.
All right, awesome. Well, yeah, that's going to do it for today's episode. And we bring both daily podcasts and daily YouTube channel or YouTube videos. So if you guys like our content, feel free to subscribe. And we're going to be talking 49ers football all season long. So thanks for listening, everyone.